She thought he needed a babysitter. He actually needed someone to heal his home. The first thing Maria noticed when she stepped into the house was the silence. Not the peaceful kind. The kind that presses against your chest like a held breath. The kind that lives in a home where laughter used to be but isn't anymore. She had taken the job thinking it would be simple. Watch a 6-year-old boy 3 afternoons a week while his father worked. What she found instead was a house frozen in grief, and a little boy who hadn't spoken a full sentence in 8 months. If this story moves you even a little, hit that like button, drop a comment below, share it with someone who needs to hear it today, and subscribe to Golden Buzzer World Official if you believe in stories like this one. Now let's begin. Maria Delgado was 34 years old, recently divorced, and desperate for steady work when she answered the ad. It was posted by a man named Daniel Reyes, a widowed father looking for someone to care for his son, Eli, after school. The pay was generous, almost suspiciously so, and the address led her to a large house on the edge of town, the kind with a manicured lawn that somehow still looked abandoned. When Daniel opened the door, she saw a man who looked like he was carrying the weight of a collapsed building on his shoulders. His eyes were kind but hollow, the eyes of someone running on fumes and duty alone. He explained, in a clipped and businesslike tone, that his wife Claire had passed away the previous winter. Cancer. Fast and merciless. Since then, Eli had stopped talking much, stopped playing with other children, stopped being, in Daniel's words, the boy he used to be. Daniel needed someone reliable to watch him after school, while he worked long hours to keep the household afloat. He made it clear, this was a job, nothing more. Feed him, keep him safe, make sure homework got done. That was all. Maria nodded and told herself the same thing. Just a job, just a paycheck. She had no idea how wrong she was. The first few weeks were exactly as Daniel described, and exactly as heartbreaking. Eli would come home from school, drop his backpack by the door without a word, and retreat to his room. He ate in silence. He answered questions with single nods or shakes of his head. Maria tried everything from her limited playbook, cheerful greetings, silly jokes, offers to play games or watch cartoons. Nothing worked. He looked at her the way you look at furniture, present, but unremarkable. Someone who would eventually leave like everyone else, important to him, seemed to have left. She began to understand that this house wasn't just missing a mother. It was missing warmth entirely. The photographs on the walls were the only reminder that laughter had once lived there. A woman with Eli's same soft brown eyes, always caught mid-laugh in every picture, as if joy had been her permanent state before it was cut short. One afternoon in the 3rd week, Maria found Eli sitting on the kitchen floor, not crying, just staring at a spot on the tile as though it held answers. She sat down beside him, not saying anything at first, simply matching his silence with her own. After several long minutes, she asked softly what he was thinking about. He didn't answer, but he didn't get up and leave either. That small act of staying became, in hindsight, the first crack in the wall. Maria started small. She began humming while she cooked, songs she remembered her own mother singing. She noticed Eli's ears perk up one day, just slightly, like a plant turning toward sunlight. She started leaving out crayons and paper on the kitchen table. No instructions, no pressure, just an invitation. For nearly a week, they sat untouched. Then one Tuesday, she came out of the laundry room to find Eli drawing quietly, a shaky sketch of a woman with long hair standing beside a small boy. She didn't say anything about it. She simply placed a glass of milk beside him and let him keep drawing. Weeks turned to months, and something in the house began, ever so slowly, to thaw. Eli started asking questions, tentative at first, mostly about mundane things like what Maria was cooking or why the sky changed colors at sunset. But questions were a door, and Maria walked through every single one of them with patience she didn't know she had. She learned that Eli loved dinosaurs, that he used to build blanket forts with his mother, that his favorite bedtime story had been about a lonely lighthouse that lit the way home for lost ships. She started reading it to him every night before Daniel returned from work, her voice filling rooms that had forgotten what stories sounded like. But it wasn't just Eli that Maria was slowly reaching. Daniel, too, began to change in small, almost imperceptible ways. He started coming home earlier, if only by 20 minutes. He began lingering in the kitchen doorway during dinner, instead of retreating immediately to his office with a stack of paperwork. One evening, Maria overheard him laugh, actually laugh, at something Eli said about a triceratops having bad manners for stepping on smaller dinosaurs. It was the first time she had heard that sound in that house, and it caught in her chest like something precious and rare. Still, healing is never a straight line, and there were setbacks that tested every ounce of Maria's resolve. There was the anniversary of Claire's death, a day when Eli refused to leave his room at all, and Daniel disappeared into a silence so heavy that Maria feared she'd lose all the ground they'd gained. She sat outside Eli's door for hours that day, not forcing entry, just letting him know through the wood and the quiet that she wasn't going anywhere. Late that night, after Eli had finally fallen asleep, she found Daniel sitting alone on the back porch, staring at nothing, a photograph of his late wife in his trembling hands. She almost turned back, almost gave him the privacy grief demands. But something told her to stay. She sat down beside him without a word, and for the first time, Daniel spoke about Claire, not the illness, not the funeral, but who she had been. Her laugh, her stubbornness, the way she used to burn toast every single morning and insist it was extra crispy on purpose. Maria listened. She didn't try to fix anything. She simply let him remember out loud, because sometimes that is the only medicine grief accepts. From that night forward, something shifted permanently. Daniel began treating Maria not as hired help, but as someone woven into the fabric of their healing. Eli started running to the door when she arrived instead of waiting silently in his room. He began talking in full sentences again, then in stories, then in the exuberant, chaotic ramble of a child who has remembered how to be a child. He started school projects with enthusiasm. He made a friend, then two. He asked Maria one evening, completely unprompted, if she would come to his school's father-daughter dance as a special guest, since technically she wasn't his mother, but she counted as something important. Maria had to excuse herself to the bathroom, so he wouldn't see her cry. If you've made it this far, and this story has touched even a small part of your heart, please take a moment to like this video, leave a comment, and share it with someone who might need a little hope today. Your support means more than you know, and it helps stories like this one reach the people who need them most. Before we reach the end, I want to ask you something special. In the comments below, tell me one person who healed you, or one person you helped heal, even in the smallest way. Your story might be exactly what someone else needs to read today. Maria never set out to fix a broken family. She thought she was simply babysitting a quiet little boy in a big empty house, but somewhere between the bedtime stories and the burnt toast confessions, between the silent kitchen floors and the sound of genuine laughter returning to old hallways, she realized her true purpose had never been childcare at all. It had been presence. It had been patience. It had been the quiet, unglamorous work of sitting beside people in their pain until they remembered how to stand in the light again. A year after she'd first walked through that door, the house that once held its breath now overflowed with sound, music playing, dinner sizzling, a boy's laughter echoing down the hall, and a father who smiled not out of obligation but out of genuine, hard-won peace. Some jobs pay you in money. This one paid Maria in something far more valuable, a family that had learned, together, how to heal.